This channel is not a Christian Prince channel. If you want to go and visit the Christian Prince real channel, you go to patreon.com/Christian Prince. I ask people to go and download my videos.
I'm walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.
2 or 3 days ago, a Muslim scientist who studied history and the ancient Egyptian, he announced in Egypt, and this is a person who is from the family of the president too, so he's not only a Muslim. He announced to the Muslims that you should know that Ramadan was not only for you. Ramadan was for the ancient people of Pharaoh. They celebrate Ramadan. Even they celebrate the night of Al-Qadr. You remember we spoke about it, where Muhammad, he speak about he received the Quran. And remember, the Quran say clearly that the people of the Pharaoh are pagans. And now this scientist, who is very well respected between the Muslims, this is not a Christian, this is not a Jew, this is not a Hindu. This is a guy, he spent his life studying the Egyptian when he is an Egyptian. When he come with this and he say it, how much that will affect Islam? You know how many times we say to you Ramadan is something been taken from the Sabian? Do you remember? Everything Muhammad he have is a story from somebody else, and we will show you today.
كل سنة وكل مصر بخير. أول يوم في شهر رمضان المبارك أعاده الله علينا، ولكن كان هناك أيضا نوع من أنواع الصيام.
معناها من 1 يناير إلى 31 ديسمبر. العام هو من موعد معين في السنة إلى نفس الموعد في السنة التي تليه. فالأصح لغويا يعني إن احنا نقول كل عام وأنتم بخير، ولا نقول كل سنة وأنتم طيبين، لأن كل سنة وأنتم بخير أو كل سنة وأنتم طيبين دي only أو فقط في 1 يناير.
العام من 1 يناير.
العام.
Yeah, he's correcting her about now saying how to say things in the Arabic and how it mean in historic way. Let us go where he speak about رمضان.
الشعيرة الدينية الخماسية. فكانت في مصر القديمة، وما نستغربش طبعا لأن أول رسول هو إدريس عليه السلام، كان 5500 قبل الميلاد، يعني قبل الديانات السماوية ب3000 سنة و500.
He's saying the first messenger they heard about, he was 5,000 years and 5,500 years, and supposedly his name is Idris. And Muslim, they have a special name for everybody, you know, Idris. But what does have to do with this? So he's saying, going back, he says, this is not, it shouldn't be strange for us, because there is messengers came thousands of years ago. Okay, but what does have to do with the Egyptian? The Quran say clearly that they are pagans. This is why Allah he sent Aaron and Moses to the Pharaoh. Listen carefully.
واللي اتكلم عن إدريس اللي هو إزريس هو القفتي في إخبار الحكماء بتاريخ العلماء في صفحة 1 و2 بيتكلم على إدريس أنه كان نبيا ورسولا، ويعتبر أول رسول لأنه لم يأتي رسل من قبل، حتى آدم كان نبيا فقط ولم يكن رسولا لأن ما كانش.
When the Muslims they speak about someone, his name is Idris. Let us show you Idris. Who is Idris? You will be surprised. Enoch. According to Muslims, Idris is Enoch. I don't know how the name Enoch became Idris. Don't ask me, please, because this is Islam, you know. Obviously, they have nothing to do with each other, you know. The name, they don't fit. And obviously, Muhammad is taking the name from somewhere else. This is not where the name is coming from. It's obvious. Idris, Enoch. All right. So he's talking about our prophet. His name is Enoch, who was thousands of years ago exist. And according to him, he was 5,500 years ago. I don't know how the numbers will work with this guy, because the Muslim, they have a genealogy for Muhammad, where he go all the way to Adam. And then if they go more than 5,000 years, they will go before Adam. Let us go to the video.
في رسالة وما فيش ناس هيديها لمين. فكان العقيدة الخماسية في مصر القديمة نمرة واحد التوحيد. ولا
the old Egyptian, they believe in something called al-Khumasiyya, which is the oneness of God, Tawheed. He used exactly the word Tawheed. So the old Egyptian, they believe in Tawheed. Listen carefully. The old Egyptian, they believe in Tawheed. Anyway, you know what? I'm going to post a link for the video so you can watch it all for those who speak Arabic. For those who don't speak Arabic, it doesn't make any difference. But let us read what here they say about summary about this. He said, as an example, the Egyptian today, they say, Wahawi ya Wahawi. Wahawi ya Wahawi, if you are not an Egyptian, you won't understand. And even if you're an Egyptian, you have no idea what are you saying. You are just repeating what you heard from your grandparents. So Wahawi ya Wahawi mean they are asking the moon to appear. He says, إن إياح هي اسم إياح حتب والتي ينقسم اسمها إلى إياح ومعناها القمر. So إياح, it is إياح حتب, which is two words, mean the moon. حتب mean time, and that mean the moon of time. And she was a queen of Egypt, or one of the queens of the pharaohs. She encouraged her husband to find the Hyksos, to fight them. And after that, her son, older son, the pharaoh, Kamas. And that's what they did. And then after that, King Ahmos. Then he continues speaking about many things. He said, the history of Ramadan, Ramadan, okay. This is a summary of that article. Hold on. So here they are. Okay, it says here, and that Ramadan can the Most High Eid. Bad Ramadan. Let us see. Hold on. Let us go to the top. He said, yes, Islam is religion where Ramadan came at that time, but the Pharaoh, the pharaohs, they used to fast 1 month for real. And they witnessed the night of Al-Qadr. Al-Qadr, they celebrate that too, which Muhammad, he claimed that this is the night he received the Quran. And even they celebrate that holiday as the night of Al-Qadr. Anyway, the video is long. And he's saying, even the Quran confirmed, taking that from the Egyptian, saying, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam. And he's saying that the word siyam, the Quran, when the Quran says the word siyam, siyam is an Egyptian word. It is not Arabic. Actually, I would use Google Translation to translate the page, you know, better than just me translating. You can use Google Translation. So here he says, chapter 2, verse 183, it says, he quoted this verse from the Quran. He says, it is ordered for you to do siyam. Siyam supposed to mean fasting in Arabic. He's saying this is not an Arabic word, this is an Egyptian word. Siyam. Okay? As-sawm. As-sawm. So here, you will see here, he says in his study, he says that the word Sawm is coming from before Islam, from Egypt. He says, and it is an Egyptian, old ancient Egyptian. Tani Saw, Saw, which means you forbid yourself from food, you know, like you stop eating and etc. Let me post the link for you. You can watch the whole video, and you can use Google Translation. There's many articles about it by this guy, but I chose this one because it's short, and the video is there anyway. So if you click at Google Translation, we have to open Google browser. Now, Muslims did not notice how dangerous what this guy he just said, because he just demolished the religion of Islam. As simple as that. If you remember many times I told you that the Sabian believed that the Pharaoh was a Sabian. This is why the Sabian, they hate the God of the Jews, Adonai. They call him the devil. They made fun of the Jews' God, who ordered the Jews to practice circumcision. And Muhammad, he took that from the Jews too. So let us go here, translate to English. This is the title. The Pharaohs fasted for 30 days and know the night of power. Okay? And here you go down, the rest of the article, you know, let's zoom in. All right, and as you see, they witness, they celebrate for Ramadan, and they even celebrate the night of Al-Qadr. And here he says to you that even the word Sawm is an Egyptian word. It is not an Arabic word, and this is where the word coming from. Let's see. And he says here, and this is why the Quran quoting that Allah said that fasting is prescribed for you. All right. And then here he explained the word Sawm, where the word Sawm is coming from. He says that the word Sawm is coming from an Egyptian word. All right. Now, it might be just a light article and light statement from a scientist who study the history of the Egyptian. But then if we go to the Quran, we will have a problem based on what this guy said. If the pharaohs and the people of the pharaohs were celebrating Ramadan, what was their religion? He said even there are people who worship one God. What was the religion? That means all the Quran is wrong. All those verses in the Quran speaking about Pharaoh, the unbelievers, and his people who don't believe in Allah. All those verses. When chapter 7 says that Allah, he sent Moses to the Pharaoh, and he said to him, "O Pharaoh, I am a messenger of Allah for you, to give you a message." And then the Pharaoh don't believe him, and he don't believe in Allah. And the Pharaoh obviously is a pagan person. The funny is that the studies shows that the Pharaohs, they teach their people they are God themselves. So how the Pharaohs are gods, in the same time they are fasting Ramadan? The people of the Pharaoh are fasting Ramadan, but fasting for who? For the Pharaoh. When the Quran speaks about the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh says, "You believe in Moses? Before I give you permission? Surely this is a magic. This is actually not magic, sorry. This is surely it's a plot, which have plotted for you. Hada makr, deception." So how the Quran speak about the Pharaoh and the people of the Pharaoh as kuffar, and then we just heard this man saying clearly that those people, they celebrate Ramadan, they celebrate the night of power, which Muhammad he took literally, and he claimed that he have one too. But the Quran says that Allah, he punished the pharaohs for not believing, he punished his people, flood came on Egypt, locusts come in Egypt, insect, fraud, frogs, all those things. Just because the guy refused. And then don't forget that Allah, he drawn the army of the Pharaoh, which means the Quran describing the Pharaoh and the Pharaoh people are evil. But we just heard the guy saying the Pharaoh people, they celebrate Ramadan. Now if we go and do a little search, what the Muslim used to fast before Ramadan, when Ramadan came, you will find that Ramadan is a joke. Muhammad was looking for fasting. As an example, before Ramadan, Muhammad used to fast. Different fasting. Different fasting. What is that fasting? The story I will show you is a clear evidence that Muhammad is not a prophet of God. Imagine I go to a city and I claim to be a prophet of God. And then I see a bunch of people fasting. And I say to them, "What is this?" He says, "This is the day of Ashura." This is the day of Ashura. He said, "What is the day of Ashura?" What is the day of Ashura? Which means Muhammad, he do not even know what is that day. A Jew, he said, this is the day when Moses, he crossed the sea. When Muhammad, he heard that, he says, "Well, this is a day for us more than you then." And he started fasting Ashura. Let us find the hadith, so we can laugh together at the prophet who is taking his fasting not from God. You see, ritual should not come from a Jew walking in the street to a prophet. Ritual should come from God. If the God of Muhammad said to him, you fast this day, then the God of Muhammad said to him, fast this day. And that explains why he's fasting. But Muhammad, he see a Jew in the street, and he asked him, why you are fasting? He said, this is the day of Ashura. And just because they fast Ashura, he fasted? Read carefully. This is Sahih Bukhari. The Muslim, they cannot say, you know, the drama they have, weak and strong and fat, and vitamin D and E is missing. The Prophet came to the Medina. Medina is a city which is called Yathrib, the Jewish city, and when Muhammad later killed them all and took the city as usual. And he saw the Jews fasting on the day of Ashura. This is the first time Muhammad he see a fasting day. Who was fasting according to the story here? The Jews. He asked them about that. And here clear evidence that Muhammad did not know what is that. Because if I know, I will not ask you what is this. Right? So he asked the Jews, what is this? They replied, this is a good day. The day which Allah rescued Bani Israel, the children of Israel, from their enemy. So Moses fasted in this day. The Prophet said, we have more claim over Moses than you. So the Prophet fasted on that day and ordered the Muslim to fast that day. Do you see it? Do we have any Muslim can explain to us how Muhammad he take his ritual from the Jews? What if the Jews are lying? What if this is not true story? What if this date does not exist? And who is a Muslim can show me Ashura in the Old Testament? Where is this guy? They Ashura. Do we have any Muslim? So I am a prophet of God. I walk in the street. I see somebody is a Hindu, and he said, you want to eat with me? He said, no, I cannot eat. I'm fasting. I say, hey, Hindu, why you are fasting? He says, this is the day of etc. What is that? So Muhammad was looking for a fasting day, and he don't have one. I will show you another example of Muhammad building a religion. Muhammad is building a religion. He don't have one yet. He claimed to be a prophet, but he have nothing. You know, he don't have rituals yet. He left the Kaaba. He have no Kaaba no more. You know, kissing the black stone is not there no more. And later he went back to his root, you know, so he started kissing the black stone again because the Jews did not accept him anyway. In different places we will find, in many places we will find, that Muhammad, he was very sensitive to the Jews busting him, saying to him, anything they say to him, he considered they are saying to him, you copy us. The Messenger of Allah used to stand up for a funeral, okay, until the corpse was placed in the grave. A learned Jew here mean a rabbi, passed him and said, this is how we do it. The Prophet sat down and said, sit down, act differently. Here you ask yourself, okay, Muhammad is a prophet of God. He was praying in a certain way. And he used, it says here, he used to pray in a certain way. He used, you see the word used? Which means God knows for how long. Maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 4 years, maybe 5, I don't know. Just a Jew walked by and he said, this is how we do it. Muhammad, he changed the prayer. What's the problem with Muhammad then? Was he praying wrong? Or Muhammad, he is saying to himself, they got me busted, I'm praying like them, I have to change it. Because if this is a prayer, and the prayer of Muslims is coming from Allah, then who cares if the Jews, they say we do it this way or not? So what? And here you notice something very funny. Don't the Muslims, they say we pray like Moses? Don't the Muslims, they say we pray like Jesus? Suddenly, they don't want to pray like Moses. And how fast to change the way you pray just because a guy, he said to you, this is how we do it. And what Muhammad, he said, sit down, act differently. I wish I have a camera at that time. That would be hilarious. Imagine if we can have a video for this. It's a funeral. And the Prophet, he prayed for hundreds of times like this. And then a Jewish rabbi, he walked by, he said, Habibi Muhammad, Habibi, this is how we do it, Habibi. Muhammad, he got ticklish, like what the heck, they got me busted. Immediately Muhammad, he come with the statement, sit down, and he sat down too. Like, sit down fast, fast. Sit down, you idiots. Just act differently, okay? Let us act differently. Well, isn't it, Muhammad, you receive inspiration from God? How fast the inspiration, man? Where is Jibreel? How Muhammad, he come to the conclusion so fast that he should not pray like this anymore? And why you need to act differently? Are you just acting differently for the sake of differently, or you are following God? A person who is following God, he will not act differently. Let us say a Muslim, he walk by and he says, this is how we do it, whatever I'm doing. And I am a Christian. Let us say I pray, I open my hand to God. I say, okay, I'm not going to do it no more. Why would I do that? That is really silly and stupid. But here you notice that Muhammad, because he have a reputation, that the Jews, they keep saying that he is stealing from them. And obviously it's true. It's true. And this is the fasting of Ashura, as you see in front of you. And then Muhammad, just to show you how crazy this guy is. The Jews, they fast Ashura in a certain day, in the day of Ashura, which is supposedly the day they fasted for hundreds and hundreds of years. The Muslims, they said to him, because remember, he keeps saying to them, act differently, right? Act differently. But we are fasting Ashura. It's the same. So look what Muhammad said, just to show you that this is the most corrupt, false, stupid man. How easy to expose him. When they said to him, okay, but we are fasting the same day, the Jews, they are fasting. But remember, this is the Jew fasting, supposedly. Ibn Abbas reported when the Messenger of Allah fasted in the day of Ashura and commanded, and look, it says fasted in the day of, on the day of Ashura, exactly the same day, and command that should be preserved as fast. His companion said to him, not Allah, they said, Messenger of Allah, it is the day which the Jews and the Christians hold high esteem. Thereupon the Messenger of Allah said, when the next year come, God willing, we would observe the fast on the 9th, not in the 8th, not in the 10th. The day where Moses across the sea changed, that's it. Just to be differently, you know, okay, but isn't this the day where Moses, he crossed the sea and you believed him and you fasted yourself? Do you see what I'm talking about? When Muhammad first time he fasted this day, isn't it because they told him that this is the day where Moses fasted? Okay, so as long as this is the day where Moses fasted, and because of that, the Jews, they fast, and Muhammad accept the fast. Wonderful. You, Muhammad, you change the day? Oh, we will fast the day before it, okay? That means Muhammad is willing to change the day when Moses, he crossed the sea, just to act differently. Well, if this is the day where Moses, he fasted, why you need to change it? How you can change it? Are we listening, people? If this is the day where Moses, he crossed the sea, and because of that day, the Jews fasted and Muhammad fasted, wonderful. Then how Muhammad, he changed the date? Just because he want to look differently? Isn't it obvious that Muhammad is a fraud? Because if this is the day, you know, the funny, they say that the Christians, they say the Jews and the Christians, they corrupt. Look at you, you are corrupt in history. Moses, if Moses crossed in the 10, okay, well, you Muslims changing the to 9, why? What is the purpose exactly? We don't want to look like the Christians and the Jews. And the same exactly for the adhan. You know, why Muhammad he chose the adhan? Anyone knows? Is it Allah who told him to do the adhan? Any Muslim? Did Muhammad receive an order from Allah to do adhan? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Huh? The hadith says, and thank you for the hadith exposing Muhammad. Muhammad was trying to find, as I told you, trying to establish a religion. He don't have one. The Christians, they have the bill. You know, just Jews, they have, you know, the horn, they called for prayer, you know. Muslims, how they called in for prayer? Once Muhammad, he saw a Muslim holding a bill in his hand, and he is going to use it. Muhammad, he said to the man, why you are holding this bill? Are you selling it? The man, the Muslim man, he said, no. Muhammad, he don't like the idea. Muhammad, he decided to find a way to call for prayer. Some story they say that this guy that he saw him, he is not even a Muslim, he's a Christian, but whatever it is. But then we find that Muhammad, he have a meeting with his companions. And let me find the hadith for you. Where we will find it. All right. Let us see. Okay, this is Sahih, so the Muslim cannot say we are making things up. When Allah Messenger ordered a bill to be made so that it might be struck to gather the people for prayer. When the Messenger of Allah ordered a bill to be made so that it might be struck to gather the people for prayer. Muslims, are you there? How Muhammad wanna call the people for prayer? A bill? A man carrying a bill in his hand appeared to me while I was asleep. And I said, servant of Allah, this is supposedly in the dream, will you sell this bill? Muhammad is looking for a bill. Suppose this is a dream now, not the real. So Muhammad said to the guy who he saw in the dream, would you like to sell me this bill? Because he needed for the call to the prayer like the Christians. He asked, will you do with it? I replied, we shall use it to call the people to prayer. He said, should I not accept you something better? Suggest you something better than that? I replied, certainly. Then he said, he told me to say, Allah is the most great, Allah the most great, Allah the most great, most great. Remember here, there's no Jibreel. It's a dream, supposedly. The story here says that. Now, just to show you how Muslims, they lie to Muslims about this, there is different hadith totally oppose what this story here is saying. When the Muslims, the companions of Muhammad, as they called them, the gang, they gathered together and they were wondering how we can call people for prayer because people are not able to know when the prayer time is. And even the prayer, which day is going to be? Is it Saturday? Is it Sunday? Why Muhammad he chose a Friday? You will find that all those things happen because Muhammad, he wanted to be different. Let me find the other hadith. About it. Let us see. I'm trying just to find the hadith for you in English. Give me a second. All of this will lead us to one thing, that Muhammad is not a prophet. He is just trying to build up a religion. Okay. Read carefully. You see how the story changed now? They are trying to find out how to do a call for prayer. Chapter, the call of the prayer section. And as said, they mention kindling fire and the use for the use of the bell. Which one? Like, we can light a fire, so people they come for the prayer, or we use a bell, and mention the Jews and the Christians. Then Bilal was ordered to repeat the call to prayer twice. This is one story. Let us go. What you see in front of us here, they are suggesting to Muhammad to do this. Use the bell, use fire, you know, and then they come to a conclusion that let us do this. Let us see the other story. This is the same hadith I showed you already. Look at this hadith. A disaster. This is a disaster. Look at this. This is al-Bukhari. When the Muslims arrived to the Medina, they used to assemble for prayer and used to guess the time. They guessed the time for it during these days. The practice of adhan for a prayer had not been introduced yet. Once they discussed this problem regarding the call for prayer. Some people, which means some Muslims, companions of Muhammad, suggest to use the bell like the Christians. And this is why we see Muhammad himself, he ordered to make a bell. Others propose a trumpet like the horn of the Jews, to use by the Jews. But Umar was the first to suggest. Read carefully. Umar was the first to suggest that man should call the people for a prayer. Oh boy. And this is al-Bukhari. So the story about the dream is false. This is Sahih. And this is al-Bukhari. The first one who come with the way to call for a prayer is not Allah, is not Jibreel, it is not Muhammad. It was in a discussion about what to do to solve the problem. And as usual, the solution come from Umar. Umar al-Khattab, he says in some hadith, says, Allah, he agreed with me in 10. Some they say 5, some they say 3, some they say 7. Including the Kaaba. Why the Muslims they face the Kaaba now? It was Umar. Hijab. Who is the one who made the hijab? Allah or Muhammad? No. It was Umar. The ritual of the house of Abraham. Umar. Even Muhammad, he says, if there is a messenger will come after me or a prophet will come after me, that will be Umar. My Lord concurred with me. my judgment, between my two brackets, my judgment, on three occasions. In the case of the station of Abraham, in the case of observing the veil, and the case of the prisoner of Badr. And those three, by the way, they are different from story to story, which means they will end like 20, 30, 40, 50. And you will find that the most important things in Islam is made by Umar. I mean, look, the Kaaba is Umar. The hijab is Umar. The adhan is Umar. So what is left? Are we following? The Kaaba, his order came from Umar, and then Allah, he took the verses of Umar, the same as I have said. Look, this is al-Bukhari. Umar, he says clearly that Allah, the verses came the same as I said was revealed. Read carefully. So this verse came down the same as I had said was revealed. Do you see it? Islam is not a religion. This guy is, he don't know what to do. He's claiming to be a prophet. Okay, guys, what we do now? All the Jews walk by and the Jews says, this is how we do it. They act differently. This is a religion. Same for Friday and Saturday. Why Muhammad he chose Friday instead of Saturday? That is a question, by the way, Muslims don't dare to answer. As all the questions anyway. Because remember, in the Quran, Allah, he made the Jews pigs and monkeys for breaking the Sabbath. Remember? Okay, that's mean this is this is the day for Allah. That's it. This is the